Natrum Muriaticum. Today I will describe to you the homeopathic idiosyncrasy Natrum Muriaticum. 1. Mind symptoms are the most important in homeopathic diagnosis. You will soon notice that I tend to lay great importance on mind symptoms. This is in accordance with the law of hierarchy. Generally, mind symptoms are more important than physical symptoms in homeopathic prescribing. In addition, they are more useful because as we go down from mind symptoms to physical symptoms, we have a tremendous increase in diversity. This is in accordance with the law of uniqueness and diversity. So it is much more difficult and less reliable to discriminate the patient's idiosyncrasy if you depend on physical symptoms. One physical symptom may be characteristic of many and often opposite idiosyncrasies. For instance, if you study Lycopodium from Herring's Materia Medica, you will discover that mind symptoms are described in only 3 pages, while the rest 37 refer to physical symptoms. It is also very important to apply the law of hierarchy both on physical symptoms and mind symptoms. Let me give you the hierarchy of the mind symptoms. Intentions come first at the top of the pyramid. Then comes will and beliefs, then come thoughts, then emotions, and last, at the bottom of the pyramid comes primary and secondary behavior. I placed beliefs and will together, because often I choose to believe what matches my will and, on the other hand, my beliefs influence or determine my will. Why do I place intentions at the top of the pyramid? I do it because intentions have to do with miasmatic and deep idiosyncratic tendencies. Let me give you an example. You come across 2 women that appear to be very sensitive and all the time crying on trifles. They have the same secondary behavior, but you may prescribe 2 opposite remedies. The one woman is syphilitic and she pretends to be sensitive so as to achieve her dominance over her son or husband, and she will need a syphilitic remedy like lachesis. The other woman is truly and spontaneously sensitive and crying. She is Boericke with psychotic manifestation and will need pulsatilla. If we relied only on the superficial image, we should have prescribed pulsatilla for both of them. So we must open our minds and eyes and apply homeopathic laws so as to achieve correct and effective prescribing. 2. Boericke introversion. Natrum Muriaticum is a predominantly Boericke idiosyncrasy. In fact, it is the typical representative of Boericke miasma. That's why I chose to describe it as the first idiosyncrasy of our lectures. Boericke idiosyncrasies are usually introverted. But what does introversion mean? Can someone be introvert and at the same time expressive and talkative like Natrum Muriaticum? Yes, it can. Natrum Muriaticum is on the one hand introvert because it is found mostly in women, likes to keep her personal problems only for herself. But on the other hand, she is expressive and even talkative in company. She may talk about her job, laugh, say things in general, but she avoids talking about personal problems. When we say personal, we don't mean what generally is thought to be personal, but what she considers it to be. So she keeps thoroughly her personal problems solely for herself or for 1, 2 the most close persons. Even then, when she speaks, she may not reveal all her secrets. But why does she do that? As we have said before, according to the law of hierarchy, the most important thing isn't to describe a certain behavior, but to reveal the intention that lies hidden behind it. We have to understand why she behaves like this. We have to reveal the reason. In order to discover this, it's important to see the kind of introversion that characterizes Natrum Muriaticum and discriminate from the introversion of other idiosyncrasies. For example, the Boericke type of sulfur is characterized by a specific kind of introversion. His wife may tell you I have to press him a great deal to drag his problems out of him word by word. He is so locked in his own world. And that's exactly the kind of introversion he has. He lives in his own world of thoughts and philosophies detached from others. So, when he faces problems, he doesn't find any meaning in expressing it because he thinks that nothing will change. He thinks that it won't make any difference at all if he talks about it. He will try to solve the problems himself. Why bother others? On the other hand, Sarinam becomes extremely introvert due to a gradual disappointment from his life. Little by little he is detached from others, even from his own. He turns inside, leaving others outside. He is hopeless. He feels that things will never change. All things are going the wrong way. His job will be a disaster, his financial state will deteriorate. He will at the end find himself in the poorhouse. Thinking of his wife, children, and friends, thinking of all his beloved, he feels nothing in his heart. He feels no emotions at all in his heart, although his mind tells him that he does love them. He finds no joy in beloved ones, no joy in life at all. He is extremely pessimistic and hopeless. There is no chance for things to get better. So he wants to be alone, and the least he wants to do is to talk about his problems. That's his kind of introversion. As you can see, the color or essence of a soul-mind symptom is directly connected to the general main idea or tendency of his idiosyncrasy. In the same way that the colitis, physical symptom, of Sarinam is characteristic of Sarinam as a whole, in the same way his introversion mind symptom is characteristic of that idiosyncrasy as a whole. The motto is always follow the laws to understand the man and the patient. Gelsemium also appears to be introvert. He is so shy and timid, has flashes on the face, becoming red when speaking to others, and loses his speech or stumbles. He feels so awful, shy, and embarrassed when in contact with others, so he tends to avoid contacts and thus appears to be introvert. Thuja also appears to be introvert due to another reason. She has such a lack of self-confidence that makes her avoid contacts. She feels so inferior, so ugly, so stupid in mind, so lacking of abilities. So why would anybody feel like talking to her? She does not deserve it after all. She feels she has nothing worth to talk about. 3. Easily offended and upset. Natrum Muriaticum is so easily offended. She doesn't stop examining others' behavior towards her. She is so reliable in her behavior. She is so strict with herself, not to offend anybody, not to be indiscreet, always to be polite. She takes things very serious. She always looks at the moral side of things. She takes things and words so serious. Her mate, if psychotic, may talk carelessly or may not use the right words or may be slightly impolite. Natrum Muriaticum is at once hurt emotionally. She is upset. She gets nervous. She may even have nervous symptoms, like headache or face neuralgia. This happens because she avoids expressing her feelings. She even avoids to look upset. She is more hurt if the other person realizes her state. She does not want others to see her in such a vulnerable state or even to suspect something. She gets stuck on certain words or phrases. She can't get it out of her mind. She even sleeps over it. She may even find it hard to sleep, so upset she is. Her mind is spinning around that certain phrase with bitterness. If she fails not to show it on her face, then the other person may ask her, "What's the matter? Is anything wrong? Did I say something that upset you. Then she is even more upset and will try to hide it by saying, "It's nothing. I just have a terrible headache and I am not feeling well. I am so tired. I will go and lie down for a while." She will find the chance to be alone and safe from the exposure to others. She will definitely find a polite excuse so as to be alone. Even if the other man is her companion, she doesn't want to be exposed. Only if she has such a good relation with her companion, only then she may talk about it. And most of the times she will reveal it to him later. Her surprised companion may say, "I certainly didn't mean anything with what I said, and surely in no circumstance I meant to hurt you. You know how much I love you and care about you. How on earth you took it that way?" You see, words are very powerful things, and mean something different and individual for each one of us. Often things remind us of the story of Babel Tower. We all say "I love you," but each one of us means something different. For example, someone says "I love you" and he means "I want to fuck you." I use the words that express the precise meaning of his intentions, and there is nothing vulgar in being precise. Someone else says the same thing and he means "I want to marry your money and position." Another one says "I love you" and he means "I want you to be my little pet doing whatever I want." And somebody else says the same words and means "I want to offer you my heart and life," without asking for any exchange. Let us see an example of this Babel Tower concerning love affairs. There is this psychotic guy, a Materia idiosyncrasy, a real womanizer. He sees that beautiful but shy and well-educated Natrum Muriaticum girl. From his experience he knows very well that if he expresses his real feelings, if simply he is himself, he will just say, "Oh baby, you are so hot, you really turn me on, I want to fuck you," laughing. He knows that if he is straight, it is more than certain that he will be rejected or even slapped. So he is trained to say all those romantic lovely things in order to get the job done. So he says, "You are such an interesting woman, from the moment I saw you my heart's ticking like never before." If he plays his role well, if he is not exaggerating, and if he is patient enough, then Natrum Muriaticum has the tendency to believe him. She is so attached to fine, romantic words. On the other hand, if her romantic and sincere husband at the process of joking asks for sex in a not romantic way, then she gets angry and disappointed. She is offended. Her dignity is torn to pieces. She says to herself, "How on earth could he talk to me like that? Who he thinks I am?" If a Natrum Muriaticum attends a lecture on homeopathy and the lecturer uses fine language and refers to principles and morality and high ideals, then she tends to be convinced not only in favor of the subject but also for the quality of the man that lectures, although he may be a great liar. But if the lecturer has a certain quality of character but expresses himself not in a fine way, with slang words, or using not a scientific language, then she may reject him. I am aware that I, as a lecturer, use all kinds of language while talking. Laughing, I speak sometimes scientifically, sometimes with plain everyday words, other times fine, sometimes even slang. Language is but a tool. You need the right tool to get the job done in the best way every time. For instance, when I try to give you the feeling of a Medorianum person as above, I have to use vulgar or everyday language. I have to imitate everyday's reality. How can I express the psychotic quality in fine words? I will only fail. 4. Cyric ideology, respect to morality and principles. Natrum Muriaticum is intensely Cyric. So, as a result, she tends to have principles, moral ideas, and she tends to perform accordingly. She is an idealist in behavior. She says to herself, I believe in Christ, so I have to behave according to the moral codes of Christianity. In fact, it is a rule for her to criticize and check herself according to this moral code adopted by her. She does not do that in a syphilitic, hypocritical way. She does not fake. She is true with her conscience, but not in a balanced way. She exaggerates. Be careful. All idiosyncratic characteristics are nothing but symptoms. And symptoms are nothing but imbalanced characteristics. They are in no way what we could say good qualities of a person. And that's why she may lie in bed at nights, even up to insomnia, thinking of how she behaved during the day. She keeps checking herself. Was my behavior right or wrong? Did I hurt someone? Did I give the right impression? What did I miss or fail to do that I ought to? It is easy for her to feel guilty. I shout to my children. I should have been more constrained. I should have more patience with them. Why am I so nervous? I try hard to be calm, but I don't seem to achieve it. I am not a good mother after all. Nux vomica may also lie down at nights, or sit at any time of the day, to check herself, but not with a moral motive. She constantly checks herself to see if she is all right with her timetable of obligations. She keeps thinking like a programmed computer, did I do all the things I had to do up to now? Is everything in order? Are all things as they should be, as they must be, as they ought to be, as they were programmed to be? Her concerns have to do with order, and this is not accompanied by emotion, or to be precise, may only be anxious and irritable if things are not as they should be. But the concerns of Natrum Muriaticum have to do with morality and principles and ethics, and are accompanied by great amount of emotions like feeling guilty, nervous, unhappy, melancholic, regretful, self-reproached, etc. As we have said before, Natrum Muriaticum is an idealist. It doesn't matter what ideology she may choose, although she tends to be conservative and traditional. She may choose to be democratic, socialist, communist, liberal, or conservative. She may choose to be Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, or even atheist. The last one is not so probable, but if she is, it will be that kind of idealistic atheism due, for example, to her communistic ideas. She will join the political party she believes in and will volunteer to do things for the sake of the ideology and for the good of humanity. She doesn't do it for the money, for position, or for the sake of fame. She is not selfish as concerns these things. She is a true Boericke idealist. 5. The perfect victim of psychotic and syphilitic persons. And that's the reason why she is the perfect victim of psychotic and syphilitic persons. That's why she is the ideal victim of corrupted politicians, hypocrite religious men, and womanizers. They use her in the worst way, and then they ditch her, and she is totally wrecked. I could say that she is made so fit for disappointment. I'll tell you a characteristic example. He is that good-for-nothing guy, a drug addict, the spoiled son of the family. From his youth he is a womanizer. Handsome, with sophisticated fine language and manners. Used only to charm innocent young girls. With his close friends he is but himself. He is the typical spoiled Mediorinum guy, the wide boy, the hard man. So he meets that sensitive, innocent, well-educated and kind-hearted young Natrum Muriaticum lady. He charms her with his manners and his psychotic strong character. His blue eyes and sophisticated manners tell her innocent heart that he is the one. He is the one that she has been waiting all her life She was raised in a religious conservative family, and being Syriac she had little experience with boys and none concerning sex. She is virgin in body and virgin in mind. She never rebelled against her parents and family traditions during her puberty. Now she is 25 years old, finished her studies, got her degree, started working, but life seems so dull. Furthermore, she has been waiting so long for Mr. Right, for Mr. Charming, the prince with the blue eyes riding that white horse, to come and save her from her dull life. She is so out of fashion, so not in. But, all of the sudden, that blue-eyed handsome guy riding that Harley Davidson ignored all sexy girls around her and made a pass on her with fine charming words. Zero resistance. Love on first sight. Total surrender. The honeymoon of their relation was so short. After a while he revealed his true character. He is irascible and superficial. He shouts at her and is insensitive, laughing at her fine emotions. He cares more about sex and less about true love and emotions. He starts asking for money, saying several excuses. He says that he was raised in a poor family and that his parents never loved him. Life was hard with him, while she had a wonderful and easy life. Later on, she discovers that he is a drug addict, and that is a tremendous shock for her. But he projects that fine words, remember how sensitive Natrum Muriaticum is with words. I am so sorry, my love, I truly love you, but I had a hard time in my life and I was led astray by my friends. I got so disappointed from my last affair and so I started drugs. I just can't help it. I need your support, I need your love. You are the only one who can help me. Don't let me down, my love. She is overwhelmed from this projected portrait. Her Syriac idealism and kindness blind her. She cannot discriminate fake syphilitic behavior from true Syriac behavior. He keeps asking for more and more money, she keeps pressing herself to do things that are not of her character. Sometimes he is good to her, sometimes he is bad. She is confused and helpless. Her Achilles heel is please help me, I am a poor guy who was led astray, but I am trying hard to change and above all I love you. He drives her to her limits and she fails to detach from him. Her life is ruined, her moral character is torn to pieces, her heart is broken and she is desperate. Do you think that all these are fairy tales? Do you think that these things don't happen nowadays? Sorry, but you are totally wrong. Such stories are part of my everyday clinical practice. 6. Dignity over all. I told you that Natrum Muriaticum is made for disappointment. Let me give you another example. Natrum Muriaticum mother is a Syriac good mother trying to raise her children in a moral and dignified way. She tries to set a moral example, teaches them good manners of behavior and wants them to be good members of society. These are her sincere Syriac intentions. But, most of the times, life has its own plans. There is a saying about it, when people make plans, God is laughing. So there is a great possibility, since we are living in a syphilitic era, that her child is born either psychotic or syphilitic. The psychotic child is wild and naughty and does not care about principles and good manners of behavior. The syphilitic child tends to be cunning and bad. Natrum Muriaticum mother is then desperate. She doesn't know what on earth to do. She feels guilty for not being able to raise a nice, moral and obedient child. She feels a loser and ashamed towards the society. All her efforts end up in bitterness. All her advices are in vain. She tries hard but she cannot convince her child to be clean, well dressed, and respectful to granny, to grandpa, and to all older men. The same troubles occur to her at work if she is a teacher. She tries hard and sincerely to be good and productive at her work. She wants to inspire her students and lead them to become right, honest, obedient, gentle and respectful. But, most of the times, this cannot be so for the majority of the kids. Most often the educational system, her colleagues, and her principal are not helpful. But she does not get disappointed so easily. She tries harder and harder. She feels she ought to do her best. She is such an idealistic woman. She does not strive for money, glory, or position. The only payback she wants is the recognition of her moral efforts. But even that is something hard to find nowadays, living in a syphilitic era. So, as we previously said, she is doomed to disappointment. 7. Conservative way of dressing. If you are conservative in ideas and morality, then there's a great possibility to look, dress and express in a conservative way also. So she is neat, clean, well dressed and well combed. Nothing extreme can be seen concerning her outfits. No extreme colors, no extreme jewels, never a tiny mini skirt, never a very sexy appearance. She has no problem to wear jeans, but they will be clean and well ironed. Of course she will not be as tidy as a Nux vomica subject. And of course, she is not likely to wear a see-through blouse or an extreme low-necked dress. 8. Nervous symptoms. Natrum Muriaticum's basic characteristic is introversion as described. Now let us see how many nervous symptoms can derive from this kind of introversion. We say that she is nervous. But what kind of nervous character does she tend to have? Be careful. There is a great difference between being nervous and being irritable. She is not irritable. She doesn't get easily angry and doesn't express it easily. Instead, she easily gets upset or offended and she does not express it. She keeps it thoroughly inside and unexpressed. But if you don't express your anger, then it tends to accumulate and cause a lot of tension. Then you get nervous, you get more and more upset and nervous physical symptoms arise. You develop nervous tension, headaches, dizziness, face neuralgia, teeth neuralgia, vertigo, chest oppression and a sensation of a lump in the throat. These are characteristic nervous psychosomatic symptoms of Natrum Muriaticum. All these happen because she is easily upset on one hand and on the other hand she does not express her upset. Why a psychotic Medorhinum have nervous symptoms? As easily as he gets angry, so easily he expresses it. So there is no accumulation of tension and no development of nervous symptoms. On the other hand, psychotic, as to his expression, Phosphorus is irritable and irascible, but he expresses his anger so easily and then in 5 minutes he is okay. Many times he even regrets of his angry behavior, although he may have been right. He even may ask for forgiveness and he is all of the sudden friendly again. So why have nervous symptoms? He doesn't. But on the other hand, he has such a sensitive autonomic nervous system. And he is so cynic as to his intentions and thinking, sincere, altruistic, kind and easy to believe others. So his relatives and friends most of the times take advantage of his good and kind nature. As a result, he feels betrayed and disappointed. Moreover, he is such a dutiful worker, always so stressed to keep up the good work. So there comes a time that he crosses the line, his autonomic nervous system breaks to pieces and numerous autonomic psychosomatic symptoms arise. He feels his heart beating in a strange way, he has dizziness, palpitation, heartache, is afraid. that his heart will stop functioning, etc. So you see that the psychological condition defines the physical symptoms. If you have the psychology of Natrum Muriaticum, you get nervous physical symptoms. If you have the psychology of phosphorus, you develop autonomic nervous symptoms. If you have the mind of Medorhinum, you don't have either of the two, but you have a tendency for excesses and may end up alcoholic, for example. So if you have a Natrum Muriaticum subject and she has headaches and you try to find the simillimum only through physical symptoms, you are caught in a labyrinth. There are so many different kinds of headaches, each one characteristic of one remedy. Only if you combine the physical symptoms of the headache with the patient as a whole, only then it is easy to prescribe the simillimum. So whenever you have a nervous person with a nervous headache, you should try to define whether you have to do with a Natrum Muriaticum idiosyncrasy or with some other nervous idiosyncrasy. 9. Irascible, easily offended, but does not burst. Natrum Muriaticum is easily offended, easily upset, but rarely bursts. She even tries to hide her state. She will rarely express her anger to strangers. Many times she doesn't express herself even to her husband or parents. But it's not a rare thing to express her anger to her young children. The most important thing isn't her behavior but the intention hidden behind this behavior. The most important thing is to understand why she doesn't express herself. She has this intense tendency for dignity. She has this strange kind of Boericke introversion. She does not want to lose her dignity, especially in front of others. She doesn't want others to know her state, to know her personal matters, to see her in a vulnerable condition. So if she is offended or upset from something said, then she will find a harmless excuse to leave the room. She will say that she is so tired from work or that she has that exhausting headache. If she feels like crying, then it is more that certain that she will hastily say the same excuses so as to go away, stay alone, and find privacy. She will lock herself in the toilet or in her bedroom, cry silently, wipe off her tears, make up her face and return as if nothing had happened. Many times she even hides her condition and feelings from her husband, especially if their relation isn't as it should be or if she considers him insensitive. But if she fails to hide her upset or her tears to strangers, then she feels so bad, so exposed, so ashamed and embarrassed that she tends to avoid their presence and to stop relations if she can. 3.10 Boericke dignity in everyday life and in raising her children. Boericke dignity is a key word for Natrum Muriaticum. She tries hard to live a life of dignity. She strives to raise her children in the same way. But in early childhood it is difficult for a child to understand or adopt such a way of life. The mother Natrum Muriaticum cannot understand such a thing. She tries, even from her early childhood, to act accordingly, and she is so troubled, especially if she has to do with a psychotic or syphilitic stubborn child. She tries so hard to be patient and calm, to talk to him and advise him, but in the end, since she is so sensitive, she cannot control her anger. She shouts, she gets irascible, and at times she may even spank her children. And then a vicious circle begins. She regrets, feels sorry, feels guilty, and is disappointed. If she has a psychotic insensitive Medorhinum husband, then things get worse. He tells her, you pay too much attention to the children. Stop dealing with them. If they shout or don't obey, snap them to shut the fuck up. What kind of a mother are you not to be able to control two fucking little bastards? She is overwhelmed. How insensitive of you to call our children that way. How can you say such words in front of them? He replies, why? Don't you all shut the fuck up? I come so tired from my fucking job and you don't leave me in peace to enjoy a fucking beer and watch the football game. Lock those bastards in their rooms and you go get some pills to calm down, and for Christ's sake shut the fuck up all of you. She is so ready to burst to tears. She leaves the room and locks herself in the bedroom. She bursts into bitter tears, has an unbearable oppression on her chest, feels a lump in her throat and many little hammers smashing her head. She is so hurt, has so lost her dignity. She is so offended, so upset, and so desperate. Nobody understands her. She may try to find answers and solutions attending a spiritual father, a psychologist, or her respectful mother. And of course, this is another smashing episode of the popular soap opera The Holy Greek Family. Laughing, and to be honest, I think that same things happen in most families worldwide. 11. Bitterness and love disappointment. Let us examine now more personal matters. We have already said that Natrum Muriaticum, being idealistic and cynic, tends to fall in love with psychotic or syphilitic persons that imitate the right man. At first all seem to be going well, and thus a strong attachment is created to the other person. Then reality sets in and Natrum Muriaticum is hurt deeply. But still, she keeps her bitterness inside, well covered. She may of course say to others that everything is okay, but this is not the reality. Ignatia is an idiosyncrasy very close to Natrum Muriaticum. In fact, it can be considered as resembling to the acute phase of Natrum Muriaticum. Ignatia and Natrum Muriaticum are the two most similar remedies for the cynic, sincere love disappointment. I stress the word sincere because very often syphilitic persons tend to imitate such a love disappointment phase so as to gain something they want. But Natrum Muriaticum is genuinely disappointed. She cannot fake, because she is deeply cynic. In cynic idiosyncrasies the general rule is, what you see is what you get. In Natrum Muriaticum we have the exception of the hiding of her tears and upset, but not because of intended manipulation as in syphilitic persons. In a case of love disappointment, she is most of the times in disunion with herself. That is, her emotions are in controversy with her logic and moral principles. She sees the reality, but she can't help it. She can't accept it or get over it. She says to herself, what is wrong with me? He proved to me so many times that he is nothing but a liar and a tramp, but nevertheless I still love him and believe him again and again. What is the matter with me? My heart says this and my mind tells me the opposite. She tends to forgive him only because he tells her I love you, or I regret, please forgive me and help me. Being so cynic, she tends to forgive persons, but bitterness remains inside for many years and sometimes until death comes. Does it have the tendency to commit suicide? Not so easy, because she considers suicide contrary to her religious or moral beliefs. She considers it a sin. But she may be so depressed that life may seem a burden for her. 12. She doesn't like to talk about her personal matters. Natrum Muriaticum has a strong aversion to talk about her personal matters. She may talk about such things only to her companion and only if they have a very good and working relation. But even then she needs to feel that he is truly listening to her and will be very discreet. Discretion is a must for her, and indiscretion really upsets her and makes her angry. If her husband tells her in a psychotic manner, why on earth do you deal with such foolish things, leave it behind, don't deal with it or I am fed up with your problems, then she may never talk to him again about her personal matters. She may also talk to one or two the most very close friends or relatives. but even then she needs to be encouraged and respected and be taken serious so as to speak. Even when that's the case, she rarely speaks about her deepest personal matters. If she goes to a psychologist or to a homeopathic doctor, and if she is encouraged in the right sensitive way, she may refer to personal matters but will not easily go to details. Even then, the doctor must be very careful and discreet and must not give the impression that he feels pity about her or that he judges her or that he is curious and pressing her to say more. Otherwise she is going to be hurt and offended and will never speak again. 13. Psoric, psychotic, and syphilitic egoism. She is egoistic in a psoric way. She does not want her psoric pride to be hurt. She would like her image of dignity not to be spoiled. She does not want the doctor to change his good opinion about her. She will not be able to see him in the eyes next time he meets him, and she may never come back again. What is the difference between psoric, psychotic, and syphilitic egoism? A psoric person has this type of egoism: I want to be okay with my principles and I am proud of this fact. I want to be virtuous not only in the eyes of God but also in the eyes of other people and in the eyes of the society in general. So, a psoric egoistic person cares for his good image to other people? Yes, that's true. But there are many kinds of psoric egoism, one for each idiosyncrasy. For instance, Lycopodium cares for his public image. His motto is, many people hate money but none hates glory. He cares a lot about his public image. His image has to do with his education, his civilized and refined manners, his artistic temperament and his psychological evolution. It's the egoism of the intellectual person. Natrum Muriaticum's image, on the other hand, has to do with morality, dignity, honor and principles. She is proud inside, thinking that she is a moral person, an idealist, a good mother with obedient and gentle children and a respected family. She is proud to be sensitive, well educated, refined and romantic. Psychotic egoism is, I am a tough guy, strong, risky, handsome, full of muscles, a macho, the perfect male, the lady killer or the tough woman, for a woman. I know how to enjoy life, to spend money, to drink barrels of whiskey, to eat tons of meat and chops, to fuck hundreds of women. I am the first hunter or fisherman, first in risky sports, the toughest soldier and the fastest driver. I am made out of steel. No fear. No pain. No doctors. No diseases can touch me. I am the man, I am the male. Laughing. Syphilitic egoism is, I am the smartest of all, the most cunning person, I have got the brain. I can do others what I want. I can manipulate all of them and not even be aware of it. I am the king. I am God. Or I am the queen or a goddess, especially the goddess of beauty, for a woman. I am mean, nasty, evil, vicious and bad. I can be as cruel as I like. I am the one. 14. Consolation and pity makes her angry. Natrum Muriaticum is found at the repertory as consolation aggravates. At the top degree. You can find such valuable information at the repertory coming from the provings. But the most important thing is to understand what does it really mean. And that's something that only true clinical experience can give you. Only when you have captured the general idea of the idiosyncrasy, only then can you understand the full and true meaning of such rubrics, of such characteristics. Isolated rubrics derive their meaning only from the general picture, from the whole, and that is in accordance with the homeopathic law of whole. It is because of her Boericke egoism, as was described before, that she gets aggravated from consolation. If her companion or close friend console her without spoiling her image of dignity, then not only will she be aggravated, but she may even be pleased and thankful. If on the other hand somebody else tries to tell her, "Poor you, look what they have done to you, you are such a wreck," then she is upset and angry. She hates pity. She doesn't like her image of dignity to be spoiled. She doesn't like others to know her personal matters or to ask personal questions waiting for answers and details. She hates giving explanations, apologizing, referring to facts, seen in a mess, and being vulnerable in front of not intimate persons. She won't be able look such people in the eyes for days to come. Things will never be the same for her image and for their relation. She will feel naked, exposed. If not intimate persons try to console her for something they've heard, at first she will try to avoid it. She will try to change subject, or she may say one or two words just to end the conversation. By these few words, the spontaneous effort is to understate the importance of what happened, and the effect to her indiscretion is so not her. Gossiping kills her. Curiosity of others tortures her. Direct questions embarrass her. If a person asking about personal matters insists, then she will find an excuse to go away, trying hard not to show her upset and annoyance. If her upset is revealed, then she gets even more upset and angry. She will not forgive that person for his indiscretion. She will avoid it in the future, and bitterness will accompany his face from that day on. No wonder why she avoids gossipy old women, even at the cost of staying alone in her house. You may even come across Mediorinum subjects that get angry from consolation. If they have a lachesis wife that is talkative and persisting in saying the same things again and again, then it is quite understandable why they get angry. They are strong characters and they don't consider many things as real problems. So they don't want to deal so much with such everyday things. If the other person insists, they will say, "Get off my back, will you? Stop getting on my nerves. I don't want to talk about it anymore." So you must be very careful as doctors. What's more important is not the behavior but the intention beneath the behavior. Isn't there some hypocrisy in Natrum Muriaticum's behavior? No. Not at all. Hypocrisy is predominantly a syphilitic characteristic. You are a hypocrite if you pretend to be a moral person while the opposite is the reality. A hypocrite knows that he is not moral, but he pretends to be so as to gain something from this behavior. There is a great difference between being and pretending to be. The one is Boericke, the other is syphilitic. There is no hypocrisy in trying to hide her feelings and her vulnerable state. There is only introversion and sensitivity in such a behavior, and this clearly is a characteristic of a Boericke idiosyncrasy. Does a Natrum Muriaticum subject avoid to console other people? No, I wouldn't say that. In fact, she is very good at it, although she doesn't go for it. She seems calm and serious and discreet to others. Moreover, she is sincere, giving and a good listener. So she is ideal for consolation. I mean true consolation. You don't have to pay her back after she listens to you. And, certainly, she will not take advantage of your vulnerable condition or gossip around your personal problems. 15. Conscientious and reliable. Natrum Muriaticum is a neat and tidy person, but not in a strict and not flexible way like Nux vomica, and certainly not in a neurotic way like Argentum nitricum. Her neatness comes from her tendency for dignity and reliability, and from her intense sense of duty. She is neat, clean and organized at home and at work. At work she is reliable, productive and diligent. She is the ideal worker. If the boss is syphilitic, she is the ideal victim. He keeps pushing her to work more and she keeps trying hard and gets anxious and tired. She may not have a strict boss, but she is so conscientious that she tries hard to keep up the good work. She may work as a state employee in a badly organized and run public office. She is not responsible for this fact. But whenever any civilian complains, she feels so bad and upset. She will never be involved in a fraud. She will refuse any bribery. She will try to be typical and right. Even if her husband or children are involved in such actions, she will feel very bad and ashamed. That's why I call her an idealist, a Cyric idealist. 3.16 Sensation of heaviness on chest and of a lump inside throat. She tends to develop several nervous physical symptoms when hurt or when stressed. That is, sensation of heaviness on her chest and sighing. It's a Cyric sighing. She even tries to hide it. But Lachesis has that typical syphilitic sighing, that loud, hypocritical, deliberate and intense sighing. Natrum Muriaticum often has a feeling of a lump inside her throat, a nervous knot from spasm of esophagus. Asafoetida has such a characteristic and intense feeling also, but it is a feeling that rises from her abdomen up to the throat, making it difficult for her to swallow water or food. So she keeps swallowing again and again in order to drive it away. But in Asafoetida it is a hysterical symptom and not a nervous one, and it matches the general hysterical quality of her idiosyncrasy. You see how important is to differentiate by the general miasmatic quality of an idiosyncrasy? 84. Natrum Muriaticum hasn't got any great fears. We could name her condition more as concerns than fears. She is worried about the responsibilities she takes over. She is worried, but not extremely, about her children's health, but in a Cyric way. She is not like the overprotective syphilitic and repressive Lachesis whose children suffer from smother love. Natrum Muriaticum truly cares about her children's welfare. She may of course be somewhat pushy concerning good manners, education, and moral principles. 17. Hot but conservative concerning sex. Usually she is hot concerning sex. She has a frequent desire and enjoys sex, but only if her companion is loving, gentle, and romantic. She is hot because she is so giving. She gives herself totally in a relation and she is capable of deep love. That's why she is hot. She just can't have sex without any love and romance. She tends to be conservative in life, and the same stands bold for sex. Things get worse if she is raised in a religious and conservative environment. Then she has many taboos. Easily embarrassed and blocked. She just can't have casual sex or one-night stands. She needs a romantic environment to function properly. Even with her loving husband she will not yield to extreme things concerning sex, or she will be so worried not to be heard by their children. She is, of course, fan of the one and true relation for lifetime. She dreams the romantic love by first sight. Her husband must be the love of her life. She dares not think of anyone else. She will not cheat her husband. But she may yield to her parents to marry the husband they have chosen for her own best interest, because he is a nice guy that will become a good husband and family man. If Mr. Right disappoints her deeply, she may remain spinster for the rest of her life, married to bitter memories. In old times she would definitely stay virgin until marriage, and certainly not a word about masturbation. These things just aren't for her because they are considered sins or dirty things. For her, love and sex are inseparable, and of course love comes always first. She doesn't consider herself smarter than others. But she lays much importance in culture of the mind, in civilization, in art, in education, and in refined manners. She prefers quality movies or theater, refined lectures, refined music. 3.18 Dryness of skin and mucus and relation with salt. Natrum Muriaticum is a frequent, deep, basic idiosyncrasy. Thus, therapeutically, is a deep and long-acting remedy. It cures many chronic symptoms and illnesses. Physically she is hot usually, although quite xeric mentally. An important xeric characteristic is dryness of skin and mucus. Hyposecretion of glands is a xeric characteristic. Hypersecretion of glands is a psychotic characteristic. Her skin easily cracks and wrinkles set in early. Dry mucus, dry throat, dryness of vagina causing painful intercourse. This certain dryness has to do with problems on salt metabolism. Natrum Muriaticum subjects have a significant desire for salt. They put much salt to their food even before tasting it. They go after salty chips and salty nuts. But the opposite is also true. They may also have a strong aversion for salt. Another xeric characteristic is the hypofunction of the bowels causing constipation with hard stool. She may have urination slow to start, especially if she feels the presence of other people who are close enough to hear her urinating. That's why she avoids attending public toilets. 19. Pear-shaped body. Her body shape as concerns her trunk, resembles a pear. She has a narrow upper part which gets quite wide at the area of pelvis. From that place downwards legs become again narrow. This is also true for Sepia and Ignatia. Whenever she loses weight this is very marked only at face, hands and feet, while pelvis shows a strong resistance. Whenever she gains weight, pelvis is the first place to grow wide. Music often causes melancholy, especially when she is not in a good mood. She may also have waist pain from muscular tension or painful menstruation. You said that Natrum Muriaticum is a very giving person. Is this a basic need for her so as to gain strength and exist, or does she simply behave like that out of moral principles? It is a spontaneous idiosyncratic behavior, but it also suits her philosophy and her xeric idealism. If she is raised in an immoral environment, will not things be different? Not quite possible. Again, she will have the tendency to adopt moral principles so as to function in everyday life. And if she will not be allowed to function her way, then she will be very hurt and depressed and introvert. How is a man Natrum Muriaticum? It is a rare thing to find a man Natrum Muriaticum. It is both difficult to find him and difficult to recognize him. He has the basic characteristics of introversion, dignity, idealism, and moral principles, but the portrait changes a lot as to behavior. You can always present an intense tendency for quality in personal contacts. Well, I think that's enough for tonight. My aim is to give you only the most basic characteristics of an idiosyncrasy so as not to be confused. Later on, you can paint this portrait adding details. The main thing is always to grasp the main idea, the essence of each idiosyncrasy. Thank you for your xeric patience absolutely required so as to listen to me. And, good night. Be hierarchical description. 20. Xeric person, xeric dignity. Natrum Muriaticum picture, or shortly NATM, comes from the proving of common cooking salt on healthy persons. So it's not accidental that an Important physical characteristic is her special relation to salty taste. Usually she has intense desire for salt or salty food. She will add salt to her food even before tasting it and eat frequently salty chips or enjoy salted almonds. But, still, she may even despise salt and salty things. This is not peculiar. It is a matter of state, a matter of balance. In extreme conditions the same person may develop symptoms contrary to his usual ones, but he will always have a special relation with the same factor. Don't forget that we live in the world of diversity or dualism, and that idiosyncratic influences concern this very world of dualism. Usually Natm is hot physically. From the miasmatic point of view, she is intensely cyric both physically and psychologically. Secondarily, she is slightly psychotic, especially on the physical level. Her main basic passion is her cyric vanity and, secondarily, her cyric attachment to her close ones. It is important to understand what a cyric vanity is. It has nothing to do with the syphilitic, egoistic, arrogant vanity of Platina. Nor does it have anything to do with the psychotic vanity of Medornum, who considers himself as the hard man. There is a word for her cyric vanity: dignity. It is a cyric and idealized dignity, an intense tendency for decency. 21. Sincere, cyric idealist. She has a great tendency to strongly believe in ideals, principles and moral values. She is a sincere idealist, that is, indeed, a cyric tendency. I use the word she because Natm idiosyncrasy affects mostly women. They are, indeed, women that would feel a lot better if they had lived at a romantic era, where knights and ideals predominate, an era of dignity, honor, decency, principles, values, virtue, kindness, nobility, politeness, sensitivity, love of arts, beauty, and noble ideas. We are talking, of course, about an idealistic romantic era that has nothing to do with history. It has more to do with books and novels, and exists always in the minds of the few romantic people in all eras. You see, Natm influenced subjects of any era, when confronting cruel reality, have the tendency to miss the good old times, that is, idealized romantic old times. So, she is the sincere, cyric idealist. She has nothing to do with the syphilitic seemingly idealist who pretends to be so, only to achieve his egoistic goals, like a person influenced by Lachesis, for example. Whenever Natm believes in something, she does it in a true and sincere way, but she is also absolute and intense. She is dedicated to what she does. She gives herself fully and without any hesitations or wanting anything for exchange, at least as concerns material exchanges. When it comes to religion, she is a sincere believer, not a hypocrite one. Like, for example, Lachesis. She believes in God and moral principles and tries hard to apply it in everyday life and in her family. At this point, someone could say, what's wrong in all these characteristics? They seem so alright and advanced, so spiritual. Where's the imbalance you have talked about every time you referred to idiosyncratic characteristics? You see, this behavior does not come out of free will. It's not a psychological achievement of the person. She tends to have an attachment in believing, an attachment to rules and rituals that have been created by people. She cannot discriminate between real free belief and rules, rituals, and ideologies serving human interests. So she is stuck on rules, rituals, typiken, tradition, customs, formalities. Blind respect to priests and officers of any religion. The same thing stands bold if she is engaged in any political or humanistic ideology. She will contribute without any selfishness to the party or organization not asking for material exchanges, position or degree. But that doesn't mean that she will not be very pleased if her offer, her honesty, and good work is recognized. She expects moral recognition, especially from those she appreciates. 22. Demand for mutuality. This has to do with her intense attachment to the idea of mutuality. She tries hard to be okay with all people around her, not to be unjust, not to harm anyone, to be honest, sincere, right, kind and moral. Whenever she can, she even tries to offer to others without expecting material exchanges. But her Cyric illusion is that she expects mutuality. Be careful, she doesn't demand mutuality, but still, she expects it, a great deal. She expects moral recognition, she expects just one phrase, thank you, she expects emotions from others. That is the reason why, as we will see later, she is so easily offended, hurt, or disappointed when things turn the other way round. She gives herself fully in all her personal relations, to her parents, to her children, to her husband, to friends, and teachers. So, according to her idiosyncratic characteristic of mutuality, she expects in return, the same behavior, the same emotions or even a moral recognition. If the other side is religion or an ideology, then she expects from the officers of this religion or ideology to be respectful, honest, and idealists. If the other side is their parents, then she expects from them to be moral, honest and in accordance with the moral values they have raised her. She expects from them to be dignified, kind, sensitive, discreet, and tender, but she doesn't like them to be very effusive in front of others, especially in front of strangers. From her partner she expects absolute giving, strict faithfulness, monogamy and exclusiveness, sincerity, discretion, and secrecy, tenderness, kindness, and respect, punctuality, romance, humanity, sensitiveness and cultivation. We could summarize the basic psychological characteristics of Natm by describing it as easily offended, giving, Cyric, dignified, Cyrically vain, an introvert person. All the above are the result of her intense Cyric miasmatic influence and of her two main basic passions, her Cyric vanity, resulting in intense attachment to dignity, and her Cyric attachment to ideologies and persons, resulting in absolute and complete giving with demand for mutuality. 23. She is the typical representative of Cyric introversion. Let's now analyze her main characteristic, introversion. Natm is the typical representative of Cyric introversion. We must be precise in homeopathy. Whenever we talk about introversion, we mean the tendency of a person not to speak about his personal problems or to speak with difficulty only to a few very close ones. You see, that is the case with Natm. She will hesitate a lot to speak about her personal problems, even to her close ones. She will not easily start talking about her personal problems. Most of the times, she tries not to show that she is bothered by something, but when her close ones realize that she has something, then, if asked, may answer. Usually the close persons that a woman Natm may talk are her mother, her companion, or a very good friend. A man Natm may talk to his brother or to a good friend. Being a relative is not enough for her to express herself. He must also be a person very close to her, sensitive and, above all, discreet and trusty. Her introversion is a result of her Cyric vanity that can be summarized in the word dignity. She creates a picture in her mind about herself. She is a dignified person, at least she tries hard to be right, just, honorable, kind and idealist. She is proud of these qualities, serically proud, but she won't express it proudly to others. That doesn't mean that she won't be pleased if others recognize it. According to the universal law of attraction, these idiosyncratic characteristics attract corresponding misfortunes, that is, what indeed she would like to avoid. Such misfortunes spoil her image. She is so attached to her good image, that's the reason why she has so much difficulty in speaking even to her close ones. She doesn't like spoiling her image to others. As already mentioned, Natrum is mostly a female idiosyncrasy. That's the reason why many of the above images remind us of female pictures. She is so skillful in hiding her misfortunes and sadness, she may even pretend to be happy in order to avoid discreet questions like "I see that you are upset. What's the matter?" "I've got nothing," is her usual answer. If the other person insists asking about her personal affairs, then she will be extremely annoyed. She gets upset, offended, and feels embarrassed. Nevertheless, she will rarely let her annoyance be noticed. She will try to hide her upset and anger. Often she finds a fine excuse to go away. Apart from being annoyed by gossiping and indiscretion, she is strongly bothered by consolation. While most people are pleased by consolation, she tends to interpret consolation as pity. You'd better kill her instead of saying to her, "You poor girl." Valerian and Platina may also be annoyed by consolation. Natrum is annoyed due to her serric introversion and tendency for dignity. Valerian gets angry because she interprets consolation as irony, and because she doesn't like to feel someone on top of her, doesn't like to be underestimated. She is so suspicious and egoistic due to her great insecurity. Platina isn't always bothered by consolation because she isn't suspicious and not at all insecure. She is annoyed only if she interprets consolation as underestimation. 24. Serric nervousness and easily offended. Due to her extreme introversion and dignity, she is extremely nervous. What does this mean? She doesn't have the violent syphilitic irritability of stramonium or the psychotic, intense but temporary irritability of medorinum or phosphor. Her irritability is typically serric. She is irascible and easily offended. She is so easily upset, and this imbalance lasts for long, but she rarely shows or expresses her anger or upset. It wouldn't be the most suitable thing for her to say that she is angry. It's better to say that she is easily offended and has that internal nervousness that is not so noticeable. She keeps things inside, and this, consequently, discharges to the body in the form of nervous tension, headaches, nervous motions, nervous difficulty to breathe deeply, oppression chest, and nervous lump throat. Nux vomica and Valerian also have frequent nervous headaches. Valerian develops headaches when caught into traffic, noise, and many people, or when she gets angry if things don't go her way. Nux vomica suffers from headaches due to mental rigidity and work overload. She wants things to be done strictly according to program and protocol, as they should be, and if she is overloaded, she gets stressed, tensed, and develops tension headaches. Natrum has headaches due to serric sensitivity and great tendency for dignity. Whenever she gets upset or hurt, she keeps it inside. This is transformed into muscle tension, especially at the area of neck, which affects blood circulation to the head and at the end creates nervous tension headache. This upset may also be discharged into tears, especially in women. Natrum. If she is hurt, she bursts into tears. She is so hurt, so much in pain, things seem so bad and so unbearable. But, if it's up to her, nobody notices anything, because she will rush away from others, finding a fine excuse, and cry privately. She may say she has a headache and go to the bedroom to lie down, or she may go to the toilet and cry, taking always care not to be hurt by anybody. If she can't help it and burst into tears, then she feels so bad, so exposed. She has lost her dignity. She will be forced to expose the reasons of this behavior and will be forced to talk about her personal affairs. Such a thing is so upsetting to her. How on earth did she permit such a thing to happen in front of others? 25. Stressful factors. What makes her upset? What hurts her? Let me give you a list. Indignity, unkindness, vulgar behavior, indiscretion, gossiping, indecency, lack of mutuality, lack of sensitiveness and inconsistency. There are some exceptions to the general rule. She doesn't express her anger. As a mother, she will yell at her children whenever they aren't well behaving, whenever they don't act as they should be according to good manners, if they aren't doing their homework, whenever they don't respect other people and especially adults and relatives, whenever they are impolite. As a wife, she may burst her anger to her husband, but only if she has a very good relation and he is very understanding. In all cases of bursting, the rule is that she feels so bad about it afterwards. She feels sorry and usually apologizes sincerely. She may even feel guilty for not being a good mother or a good wife. There are many idiosyncrasies that are restrained concerning their anger, each one for its own reasons. For example, Lycopodium does not express his anger to strangers because he is afraid he may be punched, and what a humiliation he will suffer then in front of others, or he is so much afraid that he will have to do with the police or justice. But when he has the upper hand, for example towards his kids or towards his submissive wife, he will yell and criticize and insult others. Gelsemium rarely bursts due to timidity, shyness, and lack of self-confidence. He blushes and stumbles trying to speak. Staphysagria is up to the neck all the time with anger because she permits others to suppress her, but although she is a volcano ready to burst, she doesn't do it because of self-restriction. Thuja will not burst due to extreme lack of self-confidence. If Natm is hurt or offended, as a rule will not burst or talk about it. Because it is such a Boericke idiosyncrasy, she will carry it with her all day, or even for days, weeks, months, or even years if it is something serious. She just can't take it out of her mind. At night on lying to sleep she keeps thinking about it from various points of view, and especially from the moral point of view. Was she right? Did she hurt anyone? Okay, the other person was definitely wrong towards her, but couldn't she react more properly? She keeps thinking of such things, and this may cause insomnia, melancholy and headaches. She doesn't forget at all. Her misfortunes stay with her for life, not in the sense of revenge as in Valerian, not in the sense of delete as in Platina. Natm feels bitterness. She is deeply hurt, disappointed from people and herself. It is a Boericke hurt and disappointment. She doesn't pay back. She may even not reveal that she was hurt. She just avoids seeing that person, because whenever this happens she is upset inside and hurt again. 26. Reliability and mild shyness. Being deeply Boericke, she is very reliable and dutiful in all parts of her life. At work, she is so responsible, conscientious, punctual, organized and cooperative. She is so anxious to be all right in all her duties. At home, she is neat, overworking and stressed so as to keep all things right. As a mother, she tries so hard and sincerely to put up with her obligations. How does this attitude reflect as concerning sexuality? She is bashful and conservative. She will talk about such personal things with great difficulty even with her close ones. She may even blush when such matters come to discussion. she is in favor of monogamy, she is so faithful to her partner, she tends to believe in an idealized form of love. She believes in absolute love, the one and only, that lasts for a lifetime, to eternity. What's first in a love affair for her? Emotions, heart, tenderness, kind behavior, civilized and romantic behavior, respect, discretion and absolute giving. Emotions are first and sex follows only if the above are met. She just can't have sex with someone she doesn't love. Love and sex come together and the first one is the most important for her. So, whenever she is hurt by her companion she just can't operate sexually with him unless things are brought back to normal again. Even then, she may need a lot of time and tenderness to heal even though she is hot sexually both concerning desire and function. If she is hurt by her companion she may become neutral or even negative as concerns sex, not only for him but even for other men also. 27. Idiosyncratic diagram of Natrum Muriaticum. Raw material: the mineral sodium chloride. Miasmas: intensely cyric both psychologically and physically, the typical representative idiosyncrasy of cyric miasma, intensely cyric ideas, thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Basic passions: cyric vanity in the sense of an intense cyric dignity, intense attachment to her close ones and to cyric ideologies. Anger in the sense that she is easily offended although not expressed. Essence, main idea: intensely cyric, introvert, giving, dignified, nervous and easily offended. Thinking: a psychic evolution. She suppresses urges of sensual psyche in favor of her cyric superego, intellectual psyche, and her conscience psyche. Her individual will is intensely influenced by her external will, cyric ideas and will, as well as by her internal will, conscience. She tends to become unhappy and hurt because of her intense attachment to cyric intellectual patterns like the ones concerning decency, dignity, romance, sensitivity, and giving that are surpassed nowadays at the syphilitic era that we live in. B. Influences: intense cyric miasma. She is mainly influenced by verbal, mnemonic, and conscience thinking stimuli. Stressful conditions, rudeness, indecency, indiscretion, gossiping, lack of mutuality, inconsistency. See general characteristics of mental functions: quick, intense, persistent, and scholastic thinking. D. Intellectual patterns. Intellectual type, very much affected by her cyric and romantic intellectual patterns, she tends to become the sincere, romantic, cyric idealist who is a firm believer in religious and moral principles. She tends to have an aversion to anything vulgar, obscene and materialistic, and she is kind and decent. Frequency: frequent enough especially in suppressive social conditions and mostly in easily offended, introvert, romantic women. Emotions: her general mood tends to be melancholic with intense intellectual, emotional charges. One of the most really sensitive idiosyncrasies if we take in consideration the usual meaning of the term intensely cyric. Emotions: deep, stable, intensely controlled, sincere, unsophisticated and idealistic. Her most frequent emotions are sadness, intellectual love and anger. Behavior: inferior behavior that has to do with her tendency for cyric dignity and her idealized cyric attachment to close ones and ideologies. Intensely cyric primary behavior: intensely controlled, reserved, sincere with tendency to be idealized, romantic, daydreaming and attached to ideologies. Usual roles: intensely cyric roles like for example the faithful wife, the good mother, the sincere idealist who offers greatly to religion, politics, people and society, the lawful citizen, the sincerely faithful religious person, the moral and restrained person, the person that respects deeply holy things and ideas, and the spiritual person. She believes in family values and monogamy and in most of the well-established moral codes and roles, very much influenced by public opinion, tends to identify herself with Cyric roles, tendency for dignified and proper behavior, for decent and kind behavior, highly dutiful and consistent at work without any great egoistic demands for success and money, in favor of culture and psychological evolution and against consumerism, animal lover and ecologist, suppresses physical urges and needs, bashful, self-controlled concerning sex, abstemious and conservative. Body. External appearance, look. She tends to be elegant, neat, classic, and at times conservative. She likes to dress in a dignified way. She is clean and neat for the same reason. Usual physical predispositions: nervous tension, headaches, face neuralgia, nervous vertigo, constipation, anemia, painful menses. Usual psychological predispositions: neurosis, nervous headaches, nervous symptoms, insomnia, love, disappointment, sadness. Relative idiosyncrasies: agnatia is the acute NATM, it may develop in cases of recent and intense love disappointment. That doesn't mean that whenever a woman has love disappointment she will develop agnatia, and not does this mean that whenever a NATM woman suffers from love disappointment she will develop agnatia. Accordingly, sepia is the chronic NATM, often. Whenever a NATM woman suffers for very long with love disappointment or family disappointment she may develop sepia. NATM as concerns Cyric introversion must be compared to Cyric sulfur, as concerns tendency for consistency, neat and organized work must be compared to Nux vomica, as concerns sadness and disappointment must be compared to Serenum or sepia. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more update.